Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today with Friends of the Congo and our presentation on not only what's unfolding inside of the Congo, but also the efforts that we're undertaking outside of the Congo in order to advance towards a free and liberated Congo. My name is Maurice Carney. I'm one of the co-founders of Friends of the Congo, and I currently serve as the organization's executive director. We're here today with really an initial presentation and a series of presentations that we're going to have on a weekly basis over the coming weeks. We've received a tremendous amount of support from the global community. Ordinary people from throughout the world been contacting us to volunteer, students to do internships, and people have been making donations. So, and people are making donations to not only our work on the outside, but those on the front line that are in the mining areas of the country, in the rainforest, those who are at the epicenter of the violence in the east of the country, engaged in the nation's capital, in the streets of Kinshasa. So we wanted to let you know and share with you the direct impact that your contributions are having on the work that's being done by our partners organizing on the front lines inside the Congo itself. And today, we're going to start out with the work that's being done in the mining areas to rescue the children from the mines and transition them into an education system. And we have with us Dr. Tchandema of the Comité Afro-European, who we've been partnering with for well over a decade now, and who's been in the trenches, in the mines, literally, extricating the children, most of them orphans, and transitioning them into an education system. And he's going to share with you his latest work based on the contributions that he's received over the last 3 to 4 weeks from those of you who have donated so generously to support his very important work in rescuing children from the mines in the Congo. So Dr. Constant speaks French, and it's going to be translated. We have our brother Lucas, who's online with us, and he'll be translating for Dr. Constant as he provides you with an update on the latest rescue mission and the transition of children into the education system. So, Dr. Constant, si vous êtes prêt, et Lucas, it's here. We're turning it over to you. So thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward to a rich exchange. Please feel free to post your questions in the chat. And also let us know who you are and where you're from in different parts of the world. Put your information in the chat so that we can know who you are and who's joining us. Thank you. Let's get it going. OK, Lucas. OK, docteur. Votre tour.
Oui, bonjour tout le monde.
Hello everybody.
Je me nomme Dr Constant. Je travaille pour le compte du Comité afro-européen.
My name is Dr. Constant. I'm working for Comité européen.
Oui, Comité afro-européen.
Comité afro-européen, thank you.
Qui est une association sans but lucratif des droits congolais.
It's a Congolese non-profit organization.
La présentation que nous allons vous faire aujourd'hui,
or the presentation we're going to be giving you today,
elle va essayer de montrer les progrès du travail que nous faisons de pouvoir sauver les enfants dans les mines.
It will give you the progress of our work in trying to save children in mines.
Et cette présentation a été préparée par 4 à 5 autres personnes.
This presentation was prepared by 4 or 5 other people.
La première personne qui est une étudiante de l'université de Lubumbashi du nom de Yolande.
We have a student from the Lubumbashi University, Yolande.
Le deuxième, se nomme Itangilwa, il est de l'université de Lubumbashi.
And then Itangilwa, who's also from the same university.
Le troisième se nomme Jeannette Kayambi, qui est un enfant que nous avons récupéré dans les mines, mais pour le moment, elle est à l'université de Lubumbashi, à l'ISTEM.
The third one is Janet Kalambi, that we had saved from the mines, but who is now studying at the University of Lubumbashi.
Et la troisième personne qui nous a aidé à faire cette présentation, c'est Yvette. Elle est à Manono.
And the fourth person is Yvette from Manono.
Notre présentation va avoir 4 points.
Our presentation will articulate around 4 points.
Premier point, nous allons parler de la situation générale des enfants dans les mines.
So the first point is the general situation of children in mines.
Le deuxième point, nous allons parler des différentes parties prenantes dans le travail que nous réalisons avec les enfants qui sont dans les mines.
Then we're going to talk about the stakeholders of what we're doing in the mines with the children.
Le troisième point, nous allons vous expliquer notre approche et nos différentes réalisations.
Third point will be our approach and our different achievements.
Et le quatrième point, nous parlerons de quelques projets que nous envisageons réaliser en 2024.
And we will finish talking about projects that we count on carrying out in 2024.
Alors, nous allons passer rapidement à dire un mot sur la situation générale des enfants dans les mines.
So quickly, we talk about the general situation of children in mines.
De ce côté, ici, nous voyons ce groupe d'enfants qui se retrouvent dans un site minier.
Here you have a group of children who are on a mine site.
Et à les regarder, vous allez vous rendre compte que les enfants qui y travaillent, ils y travaillent sans protection, dans des conditions d'hygiène déplorables.
And when you look at them, you understand that they are working in a very precarious situation with no protection at all.
Et généralement, ces enfants, quand on les retrouve dans les mines, ils sont souvent aussi accompagnés de leurs parents.
And when you find these kids in the mines, they are mostly accompanied by their parents.
Et généralement, on trouve des femmes qui travaillent aussi dans des conditions un peu difficiles, comme nous pouvons le voir dans cette photo.
Generally, as you see in this picture, they are women also working in very precarious situations.
Situation d'hygiène déplorable.
Very poor hygiene.
Et elles n'ont pas d'équipement de protection.
And they have no protection equipment.
Et même si elles peuvent produire, des fois, leur produit est racheté à des prix qui sont très bas.
And even if they are able to produce anything, when those who come to purchase buy at a very low price.
Et tout cela est lié, en gros, à la pauvreté.
And all that is linked to poverty.
Alors, nous allons regarder un peu rapidement quelles sont les parties prenantes qui travaillent avec nous dans notre dynamique.
Now, let's look at the stakeholders who work with us.
Dans notre dynamique, nous avons premièrement, comme partie prenante, nous avons les enfants et leurs familles.
We have the children and their families.
Nous avons ces femmes qui travaillent dans les mines.
We have these women who work in the mines.
Nous avons des autorités scolaires.
We have the school officials.
Nous avons les associations comme le comité afro-européen que nous sommes.
We have other associations as the Afro-European Committee that we are.
Nous avons le Digital Club House.
We have the Digital Clubhouse Pumata,
Qui a été un centre qui a été construit il y a à peine 2 ans pour permettre à recevoir les enfants.
A center which was built about 2 years ago that allows us to take care of these children.
Et nous avons comme partie prenante aussi Friends of Congo qui nous accompagne dans ce travail.
We also have the Friends of the Congo who is accompanying us in this work.
Et nous avons des donateurs qui sont soit des donateurs individuels, des fondations, des églises.
We also have other donors, individuals, foundations, or churches.
Et chaque partie prenante, telle que nous venons de les présenter,
And every stakeholder, as we just presented them,
joue effectivement un rôle important dans ce processus de faire sortir les enfants dans les mines.
play a very important role in helping to get these kids out of the mines.
C'est ainsi que nous pouvons voir des femmes qui font l'agriculture comme travail.
That's for example why we can see these women who work in the fields, agriculture, the culture.
Nous pouvons voir des femmes qui sont dans l'élevage.
We see on the other picture here where we have women who have activities of taking care of animals.
Le point, c'est nous allons maintenant vous expliquer quelle est notre approche et quelles
Now
sont les différentes réalisations.
we are going to talk about our approach and our different achievements.
Alors, la première étape de notre approche
First step
consiste à identifier les enfants dans les mines.
is about identifying children in the mine.
C'est un travail que nous faisons d'une façon régulière pour avoir une base de données.
This is something we do on a regular basis so we can have a baseline.
C'est ainsi que vous allez voir dans la photo qui est là au-dessus, c'est un membre de notre équipe en train d'identifier les enfants dans une mine de Manono.
In the first picture, see here a member of our association, of our team, who is identifying a child in a mine in Manono,
où s'est fait l'exploitation de la cassitérite, du lithium et du cobalt.
where they are exploiting lithium, cobalt.
La deuxième étape de notre approche, c'est identifier les besoins qu'ont effectivement chaque enfant.
And the second step is to identify the needs that each child has.
Et là, nous allons voir notre équipe de Manono qui a fait un travail d'identification des enfants dans les mines et qui nous a permis d'avoir une base de données de ces enfants.
So this is our team from Manono, which has done a very good job in allowing us to have the information for our baseline.
Alors, la troisième étape de notre approche consiste à identifier des femmes qui peuvent considérer comme étant des marraines, qui peuvent prendre à charge les enfants que nous identifions dans les mines.
Is to identify women who can play the role of godmothers and who can train or take under them some children.
Ouais. C'est ainsi que nous voyons, par exemple, ces femmes qui font la culture maraîchère. Ils sont appuyés à faire ce travail. Et au travers cet appui de ce travail, elles peuvent supporter quelques enfants qui sont sortis des mines au travers du travail qu'elles font.
So, for example, in this picture, we see some women who are doing some activities working on the land, and through this activity, it allows them to provide to the needs of the children they are watching over.
Ouais. L'étape 4 de notre approche et de nos réalisations, c'est la formation.
Step number 4 is training.
Là, nous voyons des enfants qui ont été identifiés et qui sont formés au niveau du Digital Clubhouse de Lumata.
We see here some children who have been identified and who are following a training in our digital house in Lumata.
Au travers des aides de différents sponsors, cela nous a permis à construire ces bâtiments et accueillir une dizaine d'enfants.
Through the different assistance that we received, we were able to build this building and we have more or less 10 children.
Et parmi ces enfants qui ont été dans la première cohorte, 2 déjà sont à l'université.
And among the children who are in the first cohort, we have already 2 who are at the university.
Et celle qui est ici, elle se nomme Jeannette, elle est en bac 1, elle est en bac 1 sage-femme. Voilà.
This is Janet, who is already in the university. Sage-femme, what's sage-femme again? I forgot.
Ouais. Donc, elle sera une accoucheuse. Voilà.
So she will be helping in, my goodness, the word is gone. She will be helping women to give birth.
Ça, c'est parmi les grandes réalisations de ce travail, de pouvoir aider les enfants à sortir de ces cadres des mines et trouver un cadre idéal où ils peuvent se faire former.
It's one of the main activities of helping children to get out of the mines and to do some work that will help them.
Et ce travail, il est beaucoup plus appuyé par les femmes qui fournissent de la nourriture au travers les travaux qu'elles font et accompagnent jour au jour ces enfants dans leur cursus de formation.
And this work is really possible thanks to the work that the women are doing because they are able to provide the needs of these different children in their different activities.
Alors, la cinquième étape de notre approche et quelques réalisations, c'est le support pour la formation professionnelle.
Is support for professional reintegration.
Et là, nous avons toujours la première cohorte des enfants que nous avons récupérés qui apprennent à utiliser l'outil informatique.
This is the first cohort that we received, and the children here, as you see, are learning how to use the computer.
Et au travers les Digital Clubhouse, nous organisons des formations à leur intention dans plusieurs domaines.
Through the digital house, we provide many different trainings for them.
Ici, nous allons voir une des réalisations récentes réalisées à Manono.
This is a very recent achievement that we did in Manono.
Au-dessus, nous avons un groupe de 10 enfants qui ont été récupérés dans un site minier.
This is a group that, on the top is a group of 10 children who were taken out of a mining site.
Et au travers les différents soutiens que nous avons reçus, ces enfants ont pu intégrer le cursus scolaire.
And through the different assistance that we received, these kids were able now to go back to school.
Ils ont reçu le nécessaire leur permettant de rentrer à l'école,
They received all that was necessary for them to return to school.
le nécessaire pour payer au sein de l'école.
They received what was necessary to pay for school.
Et nous avons une équipe de 3 femmes qui assurent le suivi de leur situation scolaire.
And on the other side, we have 3 women who are responsible for the follow-up about their schooling.
Et ce suivi ne se limite pas simplement au niveau scolaire, mais au niveau aussi de leur domicile respectif.
But it's not only for school, but also at home.
Et cela n'est qu'un début dans une zone où nous avons des centaines d'enfants qui sont dans les mines, qui aimeraient aussi bénéficier d'une assistance pareille.
This is only a beginning. We're in an area where we have more than 100 children who need such assistance also.
Mais à ce stade, nous ne pouvons que dire un grand merci pour ce début de ce travail.
For the moment, we can only say thank you for the beginning of what we have done so far.
Parce que moi-même, personnellement, je les ai rencontrés il y a 1 mois lors de ma mission à Manono.
I personally met them a month ago when I went to Manono.
Et j'ai vu les conditions dans lesquelles les enfants travaillaient dans les mines.
And I saw the conditions they were working in the mine.
C'est ainsi que directement nous nous sommes dit, si nous avons de l'aide, on va commencer à aider progressivement des cohortes d'enfants.
That's why we said that once we have any financial assistance, we will start helping a cohort of children.
Ils sont tellement nombreux à côté des mines de lithium, des mines de cassitérite, des mines de coltan.
There are so many children around the different mines.
Nous poursuivons toujours avec une autre réalisation,
So we
beaucoup
continue.
plus ici. Là, nous trouvons la première cohorte des enfants soutenus à Lumata.
We continue with another group of children.
Qui sont ici accompagnés par une étudiante de l'INILU et un autre étudiant qui est là, qui accompagne ces lots d'enfants qui auparavant travaillaient dans les mines, mais aujourd'hui, ils retrouvent le sourire.
So here we have another group of children who are accompanied by a student from the university and who has helped them, and you see how they are smiling.
Parce que la majorité des enfants que nous récupérons sont des enfants qui sont soit au primaire, soit au secondaire, mais le fait de les faire interagir avec...
So he was saying that many of the children are either in primary school, elementary school, or in high school, secondary school. And the fact of putting them together with students from the university.
Il y a des étudiants qui sont soutenus par des donateurs et ces étudiants viennent en secours aux enfants en termes de formation, de conseils.
So we have students who are supported by funders, and they come to help us also follow up with these younger students from high school and elementary school.
Et ces étudiants apportent encore un appui quand ces élèves doivent venir à l'université. Ils les aident à pouvoir s'intégrer dans les milieux universitaires.
So the students from university also help the younger ones, when they come up to university for their integration.
Et avoir notre approche et les différentes étapes de notre approche,
given the different approaches as well as the different steps in this approach,
la question que nous nous posons, c'est comment rendre notre intervention autonome et durable.
so the question is, how can we make our intervention autonomous and reliable, long-term?
C'est ainsi que nous avons pensé à une série d'initiatives
That's
pouvant
why we
permettre,
That's why we thought about a certain number of initiatives.
et parmi ces initiatives, nous avons pensé pour 2024,
So for 2024, we thought of
pour rendre les Digital Club House autonomes,
so for the autonomy of the digital clubhouses,
parce que le Digital Club House, c'est un centre qui sert de transit et d'accueil aux enfants qui viennent des mines.
so for these, because these clubhouses are like a transit from these children coming from the mines.
Alors, pour rendre ce Digital Club autonome, nous avons pensé à ces premiers projets pour 2024.
We thought of this first project for 2024.
C'est un projet pratiquement d'élevage de poules en chair et de production des œufs
So it's a chicken and egg production
pour avoir un impact socio-économique.
for a social economic impact.
Cela permettrait à ce que, d'une façon autonome, le revenu lié à cette activité peut aider à soutenir d'autres enfants.
So this will provide income, and then this income will help to support other children.
Et au niveau de Manono, nous continuons encore à réfléchir sur quel est le type de projet que nous pouvons réaliser à partir de Manono.
And in Manono, we are still thinking of what kind of project we can implement.
Alors, toujours pour 2024, nous avons aussi une série de petites actions que nous aimerions réaliser.
We have a number of other small activities, projects that we'd like to carry out in 2024.
Cela concerne le soutien à apporter à des groupes de 10 marraines.
It's, for example, supporting 10 godmothers.
Et ces 10 marraines, au travers les supports qu'elles vont avoir, elles peuvent soutenir un groupe de 20 enfants pendant 1, 2 ou 3 ans.
And through these 10 women, we hope that they will be able to support 20 other children for either 1 year or maybe 2 years.
Parce que nous avons pensé que en finançant les marraines au travers les activités qui génèrent de l'argent,
so in helping these godmothers through income-generating activities,
it looks like we lost the doctor again for a minute. He will be back. Just a few things based on what he has said already. And the children that he is showing on the screen that's been rescued, they're a direct result of the funds that have been sent to him to date. It costs about $1,000 or about $1,000 for a year for a child, each child to go through the year of schooling. And he has 10 children that he just got into the program as a result of the fundraising that was done by individuals, institutions like First African Church and their Caribbean ministry. I want to give a special shout out to them and thank them for the fundraiser that they did to help the doctor rescue these children and get them immediately in the school system. In addition to that, the two university students that he spoke about who are going to be working with the children who have just been rescued, the funds that were raised is also going to pay for their higher education learning for the next year. So he has two university students, and they were former child minors as well, and went through the program of the education program, and now they're in university. The funding raising that we're doing is paid for their schooling for another year, and in return, they're going to go back and work with the children, particularly in the digital clubhouse. Docteur, vous êtes de retour?
Je suis de retour.
Okay.
On était à la dernière diapositive, l'avant-dernière.
Okay.
We're almost at the end.
Et j'étais en train d'expliquer que notre approche aussi est de pouvoir soutenir les marraines.
So I was saying that we are going to support the godmothers.
Et que ces marraines, au travers les activités génératrices de revenus qu'elles font,
and through their income generating activities,
elles peuvent à leur tour soutenir ces enfants durant 1 ou 2 ans.
They can support these children either for 1 year or for 2 years.
Et un accompagnement, que ce soit au niveau du secondaire, au niveau de l'université et au niveau de la réintégration professionnelle.
And the children can also be accompanied either at high school, secondary school, at the university, or in professional integration.
Voilà. Donc, pour réaliser ce travail,
so to do this work,
effectivement, cela demande un concours de tous les parties prenantes.
It requires the coming together of the different stakeholders.
Cela veut dire les enfants eux-mêmes,
like we said, the children,
les étudiants qui nous viennent en appui,
the students who support us,
les femmes qui travaillent pour appuyer les enfants,
the women who are supporting these children,
et les différents donateurs des églises qui nous viennent en appui aussi.
And the different donors as well as the churches that are supporting us.
Et qu'ensemble, nous pouvons effectivement faire sortir des mines un lot important d'enfants et leur donner un avenir meilleur.
And together we can get out or save many of these children and provide to them a better future.
Et qu'à ce stade, au nom du comité afro-européen,
so at this level for our committee,
et toute l'équipe qui travaille avec nous,
and all the team that's working with us,
nous disons sincèrement merci à tous les donateurs qui nous accompagnent dans ce programme.
So we are really grateful for all the people, all the stakeholders who are accompanying us in this program.
Et que nos équipes restent disponibles.
And that our teams are open, available.
À continuer à réaliser ce travail.
To continue implementing this work.
Pour aider les enfants à pouvoir sortir dans les mines.
To help these children to get out of the mine.
J'ai dit merci.
So thank you very much.
Okay, merci. Merci bien, Doctor. Merci bien, because thank you. We're going to have an opportunity, you have an opportunity to ask the doctor questions. But we're going to move to Attorney Terry Collingsworth. And before we do that, just wanted to reiterate that what you're seeing with Dr. Constant is your contribution, your donation at work. Without your making the contributions that you did, you wouldn't have been able to rescue these children and put them in the education system. Wouldn't have been able to pay for the tuition for the university students who are going to come back and help them. And Dr. Constant is setting up a self-sufficient model, as he shared with you, that his model is not going to be reliant on donations in perpetuity, but rather setting up a model where they can be self-sufficient. We're able to raise about $15,000 or so to build, help Dr. Constant build a digital clubhouse. And it's in that digital clubhouse that they have about, I think maybe 5 computers set up, internet access, and it's an all-purpose space. And he's going to maximize that space in order to advance the self-sufficient projects that he has. So thank you, Dr. Constant. We're going to move on to Attorney Terry Collingsworth for him to share with us, provide us with an update on the lawsuit that he has against the 5 tech companies and auto companies. And before we move to Attorney Collingsworth's presentation, he was in court about a year ago in the DC court, and he's still waiting for a decision on the last time in court. And at the meantime, what we've been doing is mobilizing to put pressure on the tech companies so that they can ultimately settle the suit. So we hope that you continue to sign the petition. The guys in the room are going to share the petition that for those of you who may not already have it. If you want to download postcards, you can do that as well and send them to these companies. So we're going to transition to Attorney Terry Collingsworth, and we're going to play a clip from the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, who recently responded to a question in an interview about children in the mines in the Congo and Apple's complicity in child labor in the Congo. So if we play that clip, and then we'll have Attorney Collingsworth come on to not only respond to Tim Cook, but also share with you the latest update.
Like young kids mining cobalt, I guess distressing articles about like young kids mining cobalt in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I guess it's a complicated issue for like all tech companies. But I guess what I was wondering is my new iPhone 15, like, can you guarantee that the cobalt that's in that phone has not been mined, like using child labor in the DRC?
Yes, we can, because we do two things. Well, first of all, I should back up and say our objective over time is to take nothing from the earth to make our products.
Okay.
This is a big idea of not having to mine anything, is to use all recycled material. And today we're using 100% recycled cobalt in the watch, and 100% recycled gold, tin, tungsten, and other rare earth materials in the watch. So we're really proud of this.
Yeah.
But for those products that we still do mine, for some of our other products, we have an intense level of tracing in our supply chain all the way back to the mine and the smelter to make sure that the labor used is not child labor.
Okay.
And I think we do a really good job of that.
Okay, amazing. So this is good. This is like looking forward.
Okay, thank you. So Attorney Collingsworth, does Apple do a really good job?
You know, I really, when I see that, I've seen that video about 8 times, and my blood pressure just goes up because, first of all, Tim Cook is flat out lying. Notice how he pointed to his watch and he said, in the watch, we do recycled materials. Well, that's a tiny little watch. And then he admits that for the other products, they are not using recycled materials. They're still mining. And as far as we can tell, there's no change at all since we first sued them in 2019 in terms of how they are tracing and how they are monitoring the cobalt mines and some of the mines of the other materials. That's just a lie. Now, I want to give a bit of an update about our case, and then I want to talk a bit more about Apple and what we know about Apple. As Maurice mentioned, on December 8th of 2022, I argued our case in the Court of Appeals in the Circuit Court for the District of Columbia. We're still waiting for that decision, and it's been a very frustrating year because the decision is overdue, and it's so important to get a favorable decision from the court. I think we won. I very much liked how the argument went, but it's very disturbing that we've waited this long. So for those of you who don't know, when you're in the Court of Appeals, you have 3 judges. You only need 2 to win. So my speculation is that we have a 2-to-1 split, and the court is trying to see if they can reach a consensus to have a unanimous decision. But at some point, they will, if they don't reach a unanimous decision, then they'll just decide that they're going to have 2 opinions, 2 votes on one side and 1 vote on the other. And if we get the 2, that's as good as a 3-0. We still win, and we still get to go forward with our case. So we will, our website is internationalrightsadvocates.org, and we will have immediate updates as soon as we have information. Now, back to Apple. In our complaint that we filed in 2019, what a shame how long ago that was, I reference a whistleblower. We have a very good whistleblower from Apple, and she was fired because she was in charge of their so-called corporate responsibility programs. She flagged with several reports that they had a serious problem in the cobalt mines in particular with child labor, and generally that the artisanal miners adults or children were experiencing serious injuries and death from tunnel collapses, and there's no safety procedures, and they don't have any safety equipment. And she persisted in pushing the point, and she was fired. They gave her a decent severance package, and they made her sign a non-disclosure agreement. And we're working on ways that will allow her to get around that non-disclosure agreement and ultimately testify in our case. But she told me the inside story that they, like many companies, they do an excellent job of public relations. They claim, as Tim Cook just did, we have full traceability, blah, 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 blah. That's a lie. They mix all the cobalt together, whether it's from machine mining or it's from artisanal mining. They have no idea at the end of the day what went into that cobalt mix that they buy. And I want to stress that in court, Apple claims, along with Tesla, Google, Microsoft, and Dell, the other defendants, they claimed in court that they just buy cobalt. They have no idea. They're not responsible for it. They just buy it. And that's because the statute that we used, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, it requires that there be a, quote, venture between, let's say, Apple and the mining companies. They have to have some kind of agreement to work together, and for the mining company, Glencore and Huayu, in the case of Apple, to supply cobalt to Apple. Now, if they had an agreement and they had a mutual understanding of how the process works, then that is a venture. So in court, they stood up and lied and said, we don't even know, we don't have any idea. We don't know where this comes from. We just buy it. So that is the essence of Apple. They'll lie to the court, and they just lied to the public because that's what corporations do to make money. So we're going to get an answer soon from the court as to whether Apple's relationship is sufficient to the mining companies to allow us to have the next step in the litigation, which is discovery. We'll get all of their documents. I will take Tim Cook's deposition and call him a liar to his face as I show him documents indicating that in court they've been telling a much different story. So I'm really excited about getting the chance to do that, and I will just continue to open my emails every day, hoping to get a decision. Somebody just asked in the chat, what is that statute again? It is called the Trafficking Victims Reauthorization Protection Act, the TVPRA. And if you go on our website, internationalrightsadvocates.org, there is a chance to scroll down the different cases, and you can click on to cobalt, and there's a copy of the complaint, there's a copy of the briefing on appeal, and everything else about the case. So if you're interested, please pursue that, and we will, if you send me a question, I'll be happy to answer it. We want a lot of engagement about the case, and I'm here today to join Maurice in asking that while we're waiting, the companies enjoy delay. They don't have to take responsibility. There's no implication. So delay suits them. And we want just a ton of people to be writing to the companies, emailing to the companies from the Free Congo link that allows you direct access to the companies and send them an email, to continue to tell them you're not going to buy their products until you know that they're not made with child labor, but also that they have improved the safety standards in the mines for all workers that are artisanal miners. We have to constantly just remind ourselves who we're talking about here. Apple is a $1 trillion corporation. Tesla is a $1 trillion corporation. Microsoft is a $1 trillion corporation. Google is a $1 trillion corporation, and Dell is pretty close to that. So they have the resources to fix this. They have the resources to take care of the children who've been maimed. They have the resources to take care of the families who had a child killed in a mining accident that could have been prevented. And instead of doing that, They're playing word games and claiming that they're tracing things back to the mine, and they're lying to the public and the court. So call them out on that and make sure that they know that you're a very dissatisfied citizen of the United States or wherever, and that you're not going to buy their products. Now, I know that I actually have an old iPhone that I had before I got involved in this issue. So I'm not asking people to throw their iPhone in the river or their Apple laptop in the river. I'm asking people to tell these companies that you won't buy another one. You won't upgrade. You won't give them any more of your money until they use some of their vast, vast resources to fix this very fixable problem. And I want to emphasize how easy it would be to fix this problem. These high-tech companies, any single one of them could put up a satellite, a drone, some other observation device to have eyes 24/7 on the cobalt mines. As most of you know, cobalt mining is a form of strip mining, and those surfaces where the tunnels are easily visible from the air, and they could ensure 24/7 that there's no children climbing in and out of those tunnels if they wanted to. They don't want to because they like what they got right now, which is cheap cobalt, and no one thinks they're doing anything wrong because they believe their lies. So again, we need to let them know we are on to what they're doing, and hopefully if I win this first round of the case, we will be in a position to get their own internal documents and show the world what they have been lying about all this time. And for those of you younger people, you might not remember what we all call the tobacco moment. The tobacco companies wrote the script for lying to the public. For decades, they knew that tobacco caused cancer and other respiratory problems, and they just plain lied about it. And the situation only changed when a single whistleblower from Brown, I forget, the Brown and Williamson was one of the big four tobacco companies. He was a scientist in charge of their analysis of the effects of tobacco. And he finally went home one day and said, I can't keep doing this. I'm lying, and I'm causing people to continue smoking, etc. So he went to 60 Minutes, blew the whistle, and everything changed. They're still selling tobacco, but everyone knows it causes cancer. It says so right on the package. And if you choose to still smoke, that's on you. But for years and years and years, they lied. And that's what these companies are doing now. I also have some fairly decent good news that I just came back from Ghana working on our chocolate child labor cases with a CBS News crew that did a very good story about child labor and the lies that the companies are telling in the cocoa sector. And I have a good relationship with them, and we have agreed that as soon as I have a result in my case, one way or the other, I'm going back to Congo, and they're coming with me, and we're going to try to get the kind of film evidence that usually will wake the public up and show them the truth of what's going on in this situation. So in closing, and I look forward to your questions, as everybody who knows the Congo knows, the resources that are there should make the Congo one of the richest countries in the world. And right now, as most of you know, that's not occurring because the companies make deals with the government that do not pass that wealth on to the workers, that do not provide safety and health improvements for the workers. So all of our goals should be to change that dynamic so that the wealth of the cobalt, the wealth of the titanium, the wealth of the other products that go into these high-tech sector products that Congo has most of should be shared with the workers and the general population. And we hope through this lawsuit and through public exposure to help make that happen. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Terry, for that concise and incisive presentation and update. So some of you posted questions in the chat already. If you have any more questions for Attorney Collingsworth or for Dr. Constant, please put the questions in the chat. And I think with the administrators, you can actually, they can turn your mic on as well if you raise your hand. Is that right, Kwajo, Kito?
Yes, that's correct. Everyone,
Okay.
anyone can unmute.
Okay, super. So feel free to ask any questions that you have.
So hello, this is Eva James from First African Presbyterian Church. Hi, everyone. So my question is to Dr. Constant. Yeah, right. So I know and I know, Maurice, you said it's $1,000 US to support a child for a year.
Yes.
I know also that the godmothers are taking care of the children. So how much of that money is going towards the godmother? You know, because for someone like me, $1,000 is $1,000 US is a lot of money to support a child.
No, I was just saying that $1,000, that's for a year, not a month.
I think she understands.
I know it's a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Allô, Maurice.
Oui, vous avez bien suivi la question?
On peut répéter ça en français?
Oui, elle voudrait savoir combien de $1,000 va aux dames, là, aux gardiennes pour les enfants. Combien de $1,000 est partagé avec les femmes?
Ah, OK. Nous signons des contrats avec les marraines.
So we sign a contract with the godmothers
à hauteur de $1,000 pour la prise en charge de 2 enfants
for 2 children
durant 3 années scolaires.
For 3 school years.
Et les marraines, durant ces 3 années scolaires,
and during that period, these godmothers
vont s'occuper de tous les besoins nécessaires de l'enfant.
Will take care of all the needs of the children.
Et elles vont mettre de côté un petit pourcentage qui va aider comme fonds à pouvoir soutenir d'autres marraines.
And they will put aside a certain percentage which at the end will help other godmothers.
C'est ça, au fait, l'approche que nous avons trouvée efficace pour pérenniser l'action.
That's the approach that we've adopted for sustainability.
Et des enfants, certains, dont la majorité sont inscrits dans des écoles privées.
And most of these children are in private schools.
Et certains sont au secondaire.
And some are in high school and secondary.
Voilà. Je crois que j'ai répondu à la préoccupation de tout à l'heure.
I believe that's the answer to what she asked.
Okay. David, did he respond? Did you get the response? Did he respond to your question?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I don't understand a little about, I guess, the translation. Okay, so question is, are there no public schools in the Congo? Because I know the kids are going to private school. Are there no public schools?
Elle veut savoir s'il n'y a pas d'école publique au Congo, puisque là, vous avez dit que les enfants vont dans les écoles privées.
Oui, il y a des écoles publiques et des écoles privées.
There are public schools and private schools.
Okay, so why are the children going to a private school and opposed to a public school?
Pourquoi les enfants vont dans les écoles privées au lieu d'aller dans les écoles publiques?
Oui, cela dépend d'un milieu à l'autre.
It depends on the area.
Parce que dans les écoles publiques, surtout les primaires, avec la gratuité, on assiste à des effectifs énormes des enfants dans des classes.
So in Congo right now, in an elementary school or what we call primary school, there is a free education. But because it's free, there is a high number of children in those classes.
Et nous préférons plus le privé parce que c'est là qu'il y aura un suivi un peu adéquat pour ces enfants-là.
And that's why we prefer the private education, because the follow-up on these children is much better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, merci.
Merci.
Thank you, Doctor. Yeah. Any other questions?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Leanna Alston. I am a law student here in DC, and just signed up for this listserv and got the notification last night. But this morning I emailed it to the rest of my student body, and I see at least one other student from my school here. So thank you for doing this. It's very important. Right now, as all of you know, I'm sure, are a lot of young people, students around the world, and law students are sort of very galvanized around the Palestine issue. And a question that often comes up is, well, what about the other humanitarian crises going on around the world, including this one? And so I think it's really important for me personally to be here today and hear all of this. So thank you so much. But in addition to some of the things you mentioned about traditional ways of advocacy, like writing to our officials, et cetera, and tracking this case, speaking to Mr. Terry Collingsworth, do you have any law-related work or need for volunteers, or is there anything that I can take back to my fellow law students? The majority of us are Black. We're at HBC Law School. Is there anything that we can do to help? Anything that I can take back to them more specifically to tell them, like, yeah, there's a need for us to get involved, and we have a particular budding skill set. Like, how can we apply that to help this situation? Thank you.
Thank you for your question and your observation, Liana. Yes, absolutely. I rely heavily on law clerks. And since I'm based in Washington, D.C., I tend to get a lot of clerks from the area so that it's a lot easier to facilitate collaboration. So if you or any of your fellow law students would like to help us with the case, I would most welcome such assistance. I'm very low tech, but I'm going to try to put in the chat, I think I can do it, my email, so that anyone who wants to discuss coming to work with us as a legal intern can send me a resume. We welcome summer clerks, and then a lot of the schools can do internships for spring and fall semester and get credit. Whatever you're able to do, that would be terrific. And let me stress that if we win this case, the first round in the Court of Appeals, we will be really busy because we're going to go right into discovery against the 5 companies. So I'll need quite a bit of help with students helping me draft interrogatories and request for production of documents and get ready for deposition. So you would not only be helping with this important case, but you would also be getting very practical experience in litigation in an important case. So I'll try to put I think I can do it. I'll put my email in the chat here. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Professor Alston, for rallying your students as well. And just to share with you, this is the first in a series of presentations that we'll be getting from the ground. So it'll be a range of support that will be needed. We're involved in a case. I can't say too much about it right now, but it has to do with land dispute and indigenous people in the east of the Congo, in terms of displacement of indigenous people by conservation entities. That we also work with youth movements in different parts of the country, and they're often in need of support as well. So we'll be doing more presentations from the ground in the coming weeks, and we'll make sure that we give you more than a day or two to to rally the students to join. So thank you so much for the effort for coming on, and also getting the word out to the students, and encourage them to go to Free Congo, freecongo.org, and sign up for our list there, and sign up to join the movement.
And if I could add one further update, that some friends of mine have been using the consumer fraud law of the District of Columbia quite successfully in the cocoa realm. And the first case that they brought was against Hershey for lying about not using child labor and having certified fair trade chocolate. And they survived that first round of this motion to dismiss, and now they're in discovery with Hershey. So we are looking at using this consumer fraud statute against Apple, because Apple has been the most vocal in lying about what they're doing. So that would be another case that we could use some help on. But I think in the next, I would say 60 days, you'll see that we will be filing a consumer fraud case against Apple, and it will also be up on our website.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that addition, Attorney Collingsworth. Any other question, Professor Alston or anyone else, or Attorney Collingsworth or Dr. Constant?
Hello, I had a question. My name is Desiree Parker. I'm also a law student at Howard University. And I was wondering, I think it's, admirable that you guys, both the Nestle lawsuit and the Google and Apple lawsuit is, advocating for them ending their child labor there. But I was wondering if there would also be a case for some of the adults who are equally being exploited in the Congo and in many other African countries.
Yes, thank you. We did the children first because that was the most legally compelling case. That the elements for the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of forced labor were a lot easier to satisfy for the child workers. But we also added claims for unjust enrichment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and negligent supervision against the companies. And I think those claims would be equally applicable to the adult workers. That the companies are allowing adult workers to be exposed to extremely dangerous conditions and very low wages in order to get this cobalt. So I do not see a legal distinction between the adults and children for those claims, but I feel that we should, if I want to win the child labor part first, in terms of the legal applicability of those theories to the children, and then we can next go after the adult labor and have them join in a case. So thank you for that question. You're absolutely right. I think there's more that we can be doing here.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Allison. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Toby, and I am also a law student here at Howard. I had a question about the video we just saw. Mr. Collingsworth, you said they were flat out lying. Are you not for your case, are you not able to use that video to show that they are lying, or is the problem like having evidence to show that they have knowledge of where the cobalt is coming from? Can you break down like the evidence you have that makes your case compelling?
Sure. Well, we can use that video in the future, but once your case goes up on appeal, the record is frozen as to what it was when you appealed. So we can't add facts to an appeal. So if I win the appeal and we go back down, I'll amend the complaint. I have a lot of new stuff to add. Without getting too technical, for the law students on the call, the Supreme Court about 8-10 years ago issued a ruling called Ashcroft versus Iqbal. that most, kind of slid under the wire there. Most people aren't really aware of it, but it requires that you have significant facts to support your allegations before you even file your complaint and before you ever get discovery. So that's the tension that we're having here, is that I don't have Apple's contract with Glencore and Huayu because I don't have discovery yet. But what I do know is that they've had a long-term supplier agreement with Huayu and Glencore. They've been getting cobalt from them for years. So the standard again that I'm trying to prove is that they're in a venture together, that they have an agreement of some sort that allows Apple to have a locked-in supply of this very necessary cobalt. So I'm arguing to the Court of Appeals, clearly they have an agreement of some sort. It's been going on for more than 10 years. I haven't had discovery yet, so I don't have that agreement, but they're certainly not getting that cobalt for free. They're getting it because they have some kind of arrangement enough to be a venture. That's the operative term, venture. And I note that the TVPRA, the trafficking statute, it was designed mainly for sex trafficking. So I also argue to the court that people who are in sex trafficking, they don't even have written contracts. They have an understanding that this series of transactions is going to occur. We have more than that. We know for a fact, because of Apple's disclosure agreements under California law, that they disclosed that their suppliers of cobalt were Huayu and Glencore. So that's not in question, and that's in our complaint. So the big question is the court going to make it easier for people like us to sue without ever getting discovery of the contracts, or are they going to make it impossible to sue by saying that we would have to have that contract before we could ever argue a venture? That's why I think I won, is that the court seemed very sympathetic to that position, and also that the statute itself was designed for sex trafficking, and there's not a whole lot of sex traffickers that are writing contracts. So that's the issue. But when we go back to the district court, if we win on appeal, I have a lot of new evidence to put in the record that I got from our whistleblower about Apple, and there's a lot of new evidence about Tesla because they ended up buying a share of the Glencore mine in the DRC. So there's a lot of supplemental facts, but we will get discovery if we win this first round. And that means I'll get all of their contracts, and that will really open this issue up to the public.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Terry Collingsworth. We just posted it in the group a research was done by NYU, the Stern School of Business, that speaks directly to the statement that Tim Cook made. You'll see it in there. It says, global buyers engaging in a futile attempt to avoid cobalt associated with artisanal and small-scale mining ignore the inconvenient truth that it is nearly impossible to separate the flow of artisanal and small-scale mining cobalt from the larger supply of industrially mined cobalt. So there is no such a thing as a separation of cobalt. As long as the cobalt is coming out of the Congo, because it's mixed, the industrially mined cobalt and the artisanally mined cobalt are indistinguishable. The statement that Tim Cook made wouldn't hold up, or it doesn't hold up against the research in any case. I said, Lillian Huang, I don't know if you see that question in there. Lillian, Attorney Collingsworth.
Yes.
Lillian Huang, get it?
Yes, Lillian's asking how come we picked these companies. And the answer to that, again, goes back to that court decision that I discussed, Ashcraft versus Iqbal, that the 5 companies that we sued, Tesla, Google, Microsoft, Dell, and Apple, they were all subject to the California disclosure law. California has they call it a due diligence disclosure, but that's not very accurate. You're required under California law to disclose your suppliers of the components of your product. So the reason we went after these 5 companies is that we were able to identify who their suppliers were, mainly Glencore and Huayu, the Chinese company, so that when we went to the DRC, I asked my team there to find kids who had worked at mines that were owned or controlled by Huayu or Glencore. So the European companies, for example, like let's say Daimler or Volkswagen or Samsung, the Korean company, they're not bound by that law. So I was not able at that time to know who they were getting their cobalt from. We now have done more work on that, and that's another thing to do in the future. If I win this first round, we can sue several of the other companies as well, because I now know who they are getting their cobalt from. But that was the initial limitation. But I want to add that this California law, it kind of sounds good on paper. You have to disclose who your suppliers are, but you could write down that you got your cobalt from Hitler and there would be no consequence to it. It's only a disclosure of who you're getting it from. There's no consequence that you're getting it from an evil source.
Thank you, Attorney Collingsworth. Any other questions? Is Marty H? Okay, thank you, Marty. Thank you very much.
I have a question of you, Maurice. Whether you or any of the people in your orbit have a sense for what's this election that's coming up going to do to the cobalt issue? Is there a chance that we will have a president that is going to take this more seriously in terms of the impact on the people?
Wow, that's a good question. The current the elections already brought the United States in a more conservative.
You just muted. There you go.
Yeah. The elections itself, the process has already brought the United States in a more concerted way than before, because the U.S. government, and especially led by members of Congress, they have 2 bills that deal with cobalt coming out of the Congo and the U.S. securing that cobalt for its strategic interests. They have intervened in a way to attempt to quell the conflict in the east between the DRC and Rwanda. They do not want a blown up war between the 2 countries. They have major projects that they have now. They're building a rail line from Zambia through DRC and to Angola to the Atlantic, so that they can more easily get critical minerals out of the Congo. And they're concerned about the Chinese dominance in the arena. So the U.S. is more involved in that way. The 2 presidential candidates, the incumbent, Felix Tshisekedi, and the main challenger, Moise Katumbi, who's incidentally from a former governor of the mining capital of the Congo, the old Katanga province. So he's very business friendly. He's reputed to be a billionaire. He certainly comes from that class. So I wouldn't see a fundamental difference in policy as it relates to the mining sector coming from Moise Katumbi, if he does happen to win the election. So I don't see much space for a difference there. What I do see and have open, Amnesty International did an excellent documentary about in Kolwezi, where they talk about people's homes being claimed by the government because they sit on top of rich cobalt copper deposits, and they talk about the impact of the mining and the displacement of the local population, and they're mobilizing local Congolese to put pressure on their government. Ultimately, we can play a role on the outside in strengthening the local institutions so that they can be better equipped in order to challenge the government. Right now, the government and the elite they have on their side hedge funds from Wall Street, governments like the United States, they have the European Union, the United Kingdom, they have multinational corporations like the Glencore and that are on their side. So the elites are in cahoots with the global elites, the global finance capital. And the local population really don't stand a chance against that array of force. So what we're saying is that the masses of the people throughout the globe who are offended and aghast of what's happening on the ground in the Congo, we can rally behind those Congolese institutions, not only like Dr. Constant, who are rescuing children, but there are labor unions who are fighting for better policies for their workers. There are organizations that are on the front lines who are rallying the youth movements to put pressure on the government. So the better organized local communities are, the better equipped they are in terms of materials, financing, information, then we can start to see pressure being put on the local officials. And I believe there's an opportunity for that, because what we've seen of late in the United States, as a result of the Inflation Reduction Act, we see the labor unions, the United Auto Workers in particular, complaining about the impact that this transition from a combustion engine to an electric vehicle is going to have for their workers at the top of the EV supply chain. So what we're saying, and so they've reached out to the climate justice organizations, the Sierra Club, Greenpeace, and 350.org to rally behind them to put pressure on the auto companies for better working conditions for the workers at the top of the EV chain. What we're saying is that we should also put pressure on these organizations to take into consideration the workers at the bottom of the EV supply chain, particularly in the Congo, because it produces 70% of the world's cobalt. So that's what the appeal that we're making, where pressure can be brought, Attorney Collingsworth. Support to local institutions on the ground, pressure on the labor unions here in the United States, the major climate justice organizations here in the United States, for them to take into consideration the bottom of the EV supply chain and the devastation that's happening there, so that we can have a global constituency and resistance movement that can be at the side of the Congolese people, who are, so outmatched. Just to give you an example, Apple, one of the companies being sued, has got about $2.7 trillion market capital, and it's got about 50 or $55 billion worth of cash on hand. 55 billion is about the equivalent of the gross domestic product of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a country of 100 million people. So the people, those of you who are on here now, those who've been mobilizing around the Congo, we can be the equalizer. We can make a difference if we support those on the front lines who are combating the challenges that they face in the Congo.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
I think you have more questions there, Attorney Collingsworth, from Oluwatobi Ajimoko. How is the litigation being funded, given Apple has the money to wait out litigation?
Well, that assumes I'm being funded. Well, no, the truth is that I've been doing this kind of work for more than 35 years. I just settled a case that I filed against ExxonMobil for using illegal security forces in Indonesia to guard their natural gas facility there. And I litigated against them for 22 years, and then they settled on the day before trial. I'm mentioning that just to say that, we're lean and mean. Like I don't need a ton of money to litigate a case against Apple. And when I do need money, there's two different ways we manage. One is I go to a bigger law firm. Once I'm in a position to say this case is going forward, we're going to win, then the more profit-oriented law firms will often come in and want to help. by providing funding and lawyers and handling all the administrative work that goes into a big case. And then we raise money from foundations and individuals that contribute to just keep our doors open. So that the answer is Apple can spend and will spend millions and millions of dollars on their giant law firms, but I can match them just by knowing what I'm doing and being very committed to this work.
Fabulous. And we just put the link to Attorney Collingsworth's website for those of you who want to make a contribution to his work, his incredible work that he's doing, and share that link. Share that link with your network, please, to support Attorney Collingsworth's link. And we also have a link to his website and his work, donation on the freecongo.org website. You can get to his, if you share that freecongo.org website, you can get to Attorney Collingsworth's work as well. Yes, we will have a recording of this session, and we'll make it available to everyone who participated today and those who weren't able to make it as well. Any other questions before we wrap up? Kept you all quite a bit. I don't know if Attorney Collingsworth, you wanted to make a closing remark. And
well, just thank you for organizing this, Maurice, and for introducing me to new people that are very, very interested in this topic. Again, our people do a great job of updating our website, and the minute there's news, I will get the word out, and I hope I will soon be sharing with you all some very good news that really could be a game changer on some of these issues at least.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you, thank you. Dr. Constant, vous êtes toujours là?
Oui, je suis là.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Si vous pouvez dire un mot avant de partir, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, le dernier mot, c'est un mot de remerciement à toutes les personnes qui ont répondu à l'invitation.
Thank you to everyone who has answered to this invitation.
Et nous sommes reconnaissants pour les efforts que vous êtes en train de fournir afin de soutenir notre programme.
We are grateful for what you are doing in supporting our program.
Et nous vous remercions pour cela.
And thank you very much.
Et nous serons toujours disponibles à vous donner des informations sur l'état d'avancement du travail que nous réalisons.
Our doors are open if ever you need any more information on what we are doing.
Merci.
Thank you.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you, Bukas. Thank you, Dr. Constant. Thank you, Attorney Collingsworth, Quadro and Quito for holding us down on the technical end. And I want to thank you, those of you who joined us, and those of you who contributed because of your donations that we're able to get these 10 children rescued and get them out of the mines into an education system. Because of your contribution that we're able to pay for the tuition for 2 university students at the University of Lubumbashi, who are former child minors themselves, and they're giving back by going to work with the children that Dr. Constant has recently rescued. So thank you to the First African Church for the fundraiser that you did. That's a model that other people can do. Faith institutions, sororities, fraternities can do fundraisers to support the work of Dr. Constant and his remarkable work that he's doing on the ground in the Congo. So there's a lot that we can do to support what's happening inside the country by strengthening the local institutions. And we encourage you to join us for future sessions. We'll be having other sessions from representatives from the rainforest, indigenous leaders, and that have been getting support, women who've been engaged in combating sexual violence, organizations that are working with internally displaced people, about 7 million internally displaced Congolese. So there's a range of frontline workers that we'll be bringing to you so that you can hear from them directly and hear how the money that you're contributing to them is making a difference with their work on the ground. And if you would like to go on the ground yourself and connect with these remarkable, courageous frontline organizers, you can join us. You can contact us at friendsofthecongo.org on our contact page. Send an email to info@friendsofthecongo.org to be a part of our delegation. Our delegation for 2024 to the Congo will start on June 20th, and it will run through July 20th. We'll be visiting the east of the country, where you have some remarkable artists that will be sharing the work that they're doing, rescuing children who have been involved in the child soldiers in the conflict, introducing you to Congolese culture. We'll go into the rainforest, to the heart of the rainforest. If you have a sense of adventure and go on a boat ride and get to the villages that are preserving the environment there and the biodiversity there, meet with indigenous leaders. We'll go to the mining areas and visit Dr. Constant to see the work that he's doing with the children. We may even go to the peatlands and visit our friends who are preserving the peatlands. Go to Kinshasa and connect with some of the young people who are organizing there. So we very much would like you to join us on a delegation to the Congo in July of 2024, in June and July, from June 20th to July 20th. And visit our website, friendsofthecongo.org, and our contact page. Leave us a message and let us know that you'd like to be a part of the delegation to the Congo. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.